Valerie.
I want to tell one story.
Okay, Val, you have to get in here.
He's proud of this story, Valerie. Cut in here.
Come on.
I wasn't proud of it.
Oh, he's not gonna tell the Hortonville story.
Oh, he's going to talk about Hortonville.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. I'll bet you he is. Look at him. He's shaking his head, yes. You're so proud of that story. Valerie's just like Morris.
Valerie was, we
Uh-oh,
we
it's
had,
Let her sit down. Let her sit down.
Okay.
Valerie and Jean were here helping the Wisconsin teachers with the Hortonville teacher strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was not going very well for us.
Miserably.
And there was a bunch of rednecks up there that had pickup trucks that had their guns slung in the rack of the back of the pickup. And every morning they'd come up to the school and try to protect the scabs so that they could go to work. And there was the sheriff was, his wife was the chief negotiator at a district over by just towards Green Bay from Appleton. And he used, so that they were supplying officers from all these surrounding sheriff's departments so that they could manage the strike. And the teachers were coming in from all over the state. And so one day, Valerie and I don't know who else, but they decided they were going to have some fun with these rednecks. And there was a bar downtown that the rednecks used to go to and think it was theirs. So this one morning, Valerie got enough women to go with her. And when the rednecks came back to their bar, Valerie and 35 or 40 or...
That's not the way I remember it. The way I remember it is you organize these people to go, let's go to the bar, to the redneck bar and crash it.
That would be correct.
That would be correct.
And these rednecks...
And I said, I'm not going to do that.
And the rednecks didn't have the foggiest idea what they ought to do. They were nervous what ought to be appropriate or not appropriate.
Yeah, and Valerie said, let's go.
I did. I thought it would be an experience that I had never had. I ordered a beer, which I also had never had and didn't want. But Morris said to me, you got to drink it or they'll be insulted. So I tried. It became a little tense, and they said, we ought to call the sheriff. And we just sat there. And then they got uglier, and Morris said, you know, it might be a good idea to call the sheriff because it could get ugly here. And I think everybody left but the two of us. And then they decided to call the sheriff, and the sheriff said it would probably be a good idea for you to leave. Let's talk out in the street. And we did. And that's the truth.
I think it was, that would be you couldn't have a better example of how people who have fundamental differences, they don't know how to act in that situation. It was really interesting to watch the reaction of people. I mean, and both sides were nervous about what was going to happen or not happen, and what was going to go on, and who was going to blow it up or not. And
That was horrible situation. That was a difficult strike. It really was.
Yes, it was.
Really, those teachers never got back in, did they? The board of directors decided they were going to have a statewide strike, and it came up just pretty quickly, didn't it, at the meeting?
Yes.
And they said, yes, let's all go on strike. Well, it wasn't totally thought through, the consequences. And because what was the situation was, most of the teachers had contracts, local contracts that were in effect with no strike clauses in them, that they would not strike, and they'd have to violate their local contracts to go on strike. And in a sympathy strike for the teachers in Hortonville. And so a lot of the locals were really anxious to do that because they had worked very hard to get those contracts and they weren't ready to risk them. And they passed it. Morris called me and asked me to come up and help him go out and talk to locals and see what we could do. I guess he wanted me to come talk to the big urban locals because I knew all of the staff actually, and the locals at the time. And so we went around, you and me and the president, and we presented the argument thoroughly of why the board thought they ought to support it. And we said, talk about it and see what you can do, and get back to us. And everybody got back to us and said it's not a very, we just can't do it. But the thing that came out of it is every one of them started contributing to the Reese Fund, and I think in Hortonville, yeah, not Reese, that was Michigan, that was their first band, but Hortonville. And how much did they, 300,000 or something like that?
Bundle of money.
A bundle of money they raised to help the teachers that didn't get back in. But
The other thing that I think happened out of that, long term, I think that most teachers saw laying right in front of them, stark naked, that there are times when the only way you're going to get something done is just with the stark exercise of power. And I think the WEAC union teachers grew enormously in that period of time. I mean, I think if you'd go to the leadership conference, they'd be talking about what was talked about at that meeting, and who was saying what, and how hard it was for them to decide to do something or not to do something.
yeah,
I think it made the growth, the change of the institution just enormous over a pretty short time.
yeah.